the Yaoi Show
Hello.
Pod. Thank you all for being here. I am Corolla's dying,
I am not dying anymore. I used the inhaler. I should be fine
which
now.
is very inconvenient for me.
I'm gonna try. Although I did give you permission, remember, to
You
monetize
did.
my death.
You did. You did. You
Yeah.
gave me explicit permission to monetize your death as much as possible. So there's going to be a live stream,
Yeah.
um, and it's going to make the little like YouTube "you got money" noise every time someone like tosses a coin.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Like every time someone makes a donation, it's gonna make that like really really obnoxious YouTube "you got money" noise.
Hmm.
Um, I will enable sounds on the Twitch stream so people can just like yell out like corn.
I'm so sad. I'll miss it because
There
I'll be
is a
dead.
there is a trend of people doing pre-funerals.
Hmm.
Just saying, someone who worked in death care for a while, there
Good
is,
God.
and the death care industry that I was a part of was very big on personalizations in funerals. So
Yeah.
I know some people.
How are they with pyramids?
They're great.
Okay. Good. Good.
They're good for
It's
pyramids. It's a requirement.
important. Yeah.
Um, we are here to talk about our latest episode, which is on queer representation in BL and Yaoi, and hopefully put representation to bed for a little while longer until we realize we forgot something else.
We always forget something.
Well, and I think that's why we keep coming back to this topic. It isn't just like cash grab. It's, at least I'm the number one fan of this show, so I'm constantly going back and listening to this show. I am like a parrot. I will put this on in the background and like, yeah, that was funny. Like,
I mean, but I was laughing so hard when I made that reel yesterday. I was like,
yes,
oh my God.
like I'm probably one of the number one consumers of this show. And when we did cover representation in the past, I think we were doing a good job at covering it from like a writer and author intentionality perspective, but not really from a media crit perspective. And while I don't think that the previous conversation doesn't have merits, you could feel how visibly uncomfortable we are talking about this.
But it's also it's an ongoing conversation.
It is.
Not only because we are growing and we keep remembering things we could have said, or
Mm-hmm.
thinking of things that we didn't think about before, but also because
Mm-hmm.
yes, there are, the genre is growing, the genre is
Mm-hmm.
expanding, there are new things coming out, but there are constantly new fans coming in, and people who we haven't had these conversations with before.
Hello.
Hello, welcome. So, so it's like you will keep coming back to it. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this yesterday when I skipped through the episode to make
Mm-hmm.
the digest reel, that
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of things that we keep repeating, and
Mm-hmm.
at least for me, it has a lot to do with, if this, God forbid, is your first episode, that you're listening to, you haven't heard us say this before, right? So it's like
Right.
the constant, it's like, just in case you're new here, this is a
Right.
mandatory disclaimer. This is a mandatory, like,
Exactly. And
statement. Yeah.
that's something I'm also super cognizant of when I'm writing outlines and stuff like that, is realizing that for so many people, this episode could be their first. I am always so curious about which episode
Yeah.
people come in on. Like, I super appreciate the old converts who've stuck around between now two co-hosts. I'd love to know how you guys think, but like there's a massive difference between even like the first couple episodes Corolla and I recorded to the episodes that we're doing now.
Mm.
So it does feel repetitive, and it does feel like we have to say the same thing a lot of times. But we do that because, when I'm out there whoring and people are like, oh, I'm going to listen to your show, and it usually defaults them to the latest episode, that in case my whoring works and someone does tune in, it's, hey, I know I said this a million times, but if you're just now listening,
Yeah.
this is what we mean, because we do have to be careful about that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even when, because at least I attend a lot of lecture things, and a lot
Mhm,
of, like, if there is a symposium, a digital symposium,
mhm,
or a conference happening, and I can join in via Zoom, even if it's at 3 in the morning, I'm gonna do it. And
mhm,
and listening to the same scholars, like, listening to Dr. Thomas, listening to Dr. Welker, even they
mhm.
do this, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the same points, a lot of the same introductions and arguments and
Mhm.
disclaimers over and over, because you never really know who's listening. Like, because you want to provide some sort of baseline context.
Well, and I think also what comes back to mind to me also is that we keep needing to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Like
I like,
there's a lot of me that has been thinking, hey, we should probably redo that pro ship anti ship episode.
oh yeah.
Glad I can catch the live. I look forward to watching from the beginning earlier. It's so fun feeling like a part of the community. You
Yay.
are a part of our community. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you so much.
Feel free to drop any questions in chat. Chat is this way for me.
It's, yes, there.
How many,
Okay.
how many months did it take for us to figure that out?
I mean, I still haven't figured it out. I don't know. I don't understand
Or this
anything.
way?
Oh my god. The struggle
You
is
are in the
real.
direction of chat.
Okay. Yes, that way. Do you know I can okay. Well, I can see the chat. I guess that's all that matters. I don't
That's what
have
matters.
I don't have host privileges, so I'm not allowed to type in the
I'm,
chat.
I'm sorry.
So,
Do you want more power? Is that what you're asking? Do
no,
you
it's
want those
fine.
privileges? Hello, welcome.
Hello, welcome.
But I'm glad that we got to have this conversation. I'm glad that we got to have this conversation eloquently. And I'm glad that we got to end on a more optimistic note, because, yeah, I was willing to stop this at everything is trash. Everything is trash and there's no hope.
I have a whole exhibition of hope right here. Have a
You do,
lot of
you do.
examples of modern goodness.
Yes. Let's see. As someone who's been in the community for a while, I hear a lot of things repeated, but there are always new things to add and things that bear repeating. Absolutely. That's what we're
Yeah.
really hoping for. Is it like, if we are hammering in this point, it's for a reason. So
Yeah.
pay attention to it. Like, we're not just senile yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
And
There will come a day.
unfortunately, I fear that the day I do become senile, I will sit around repeating these things because it will be the only thing left in my brain.
Just in a nursing home somewhere, like, welcome to the Yaoi shelf.
I'll be in a nursing home. Actually, no, because I'm saying the same thing my grandma keeps saying. Like, if I ever have to go to a nursing home, take me out back and shoot me.
Just they
But
put you in the pod,
in the
put
event
you
that yeah,
put you in the death pod in the Swiss woods.
and like there will be two things, and I will be like, on one hand, I'll be like telling the nurses and the staff about like how how stupid antis are, and how these arguments are coming out, and they'll be like, what is this, what is this rant, what is she talking about, why does she keep doing this? And the other half is like, "Oh, yes, I remember when Naruto finally became a Hokage, and I was it'll be like, oh,
I'm over here just in a rocking chair talking about Matt and Mello.
mm, mm, yes,
Those will be the day when I finally get to become a wee boomer.
just waxing. I mean, we are now waxing poetically about our future.
Are we old?
I saw a video today of a 27-year-old teacher lamenting that his students had figured out that he was 27, and that if something was 25 years old, it was vintage. So they had started calling him vintage, and they had also started asking him if he had started planning his funeral. So yes, we are ancient. For the record, I have a lot of ideas for my funeral, but
I
then I
do also.
realized,
We should probably
uh,
talk about representation and not our death.
yeah, I'm just saying. had some ideas, but then I realized I won't be there, so it can't be cool.
We can do a pre-funeral. Also, this is our next get rich quick scheme. We're gonna open up a special nursing home just for Fujin. We're gonna have
Yeah,
like special decorations in each room. You can pick like an OTP wing.
as long as I get to be queen of the Sasunaru wing, like please, my domain, my
You
home.
get you get to be in an OTP wing
Oh,
with like-minded older Fujin,
beautiful.
so you don't
But
have
I
to argue.
but I want my own room
Well,
because I
yeah,
hate.
it's like your fucking camp, of course, of course.
Like I
Yeah.
live in fear.
But I had a great time talking representation. I loved our sponsor this month.
Yes. I
I
think
love it.
tomorrow, yeah, I think tomorrow is the last day we have access to the sponsored
Yes.
content, so I gotta get back to my reading.
Yes. I'm sorry I'm taking up reading time, but I
How dare
so
you?
happy I'm so happy to work with Filthy Figments. And
So
I've
fun.
said this multiple times on the show. Can I just go there now? No, you can't go to the Fujin retirement home now.
We need
I
you.
wish I could. That sounds nice though. Just go
Hey?
off into the forest. Sansa?
Yeah, he is behind the laptop screaming at me. Hey,
What does he need?
kom, må gå rundt. There he is.
What does he need?
Attention.
Same. Who's texting me? Good lord. Anyways, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns about the episode, we would love to hear them. One big thing, what I was saying was, one big thing that I loved about our Filthy Figment sponsorship this month is that oftentimes in the past, when I've talked about the lack of representation in BL and Yaoi, I've used Western webcomics as a foil to like, hey, people of color, people of other gender, orientations and identities. There are stories that include us. They're just not written by Japan.
At least they didn't used to be.
At least they did. I struggle every day with being very like FUBU when it comes to stories like that. And oh, okay. So FUBU is a clothing line that was started in New York, and it means for us, by us.
Ah, yeah, right.
And it
I
was
know the
very much
clothing
marketed.
line. I
Yeah,
just,
and it was
yeah.
very much marketed at African Americans. So this is definitely an older opinion because I know, we shouldn't limit writers to staying in their lanes and blah, blah, blah. I sure do write a lot of gay white men for being a queer black woman, but I tend to be a little bit more FUBU with these stories just because there is so much nuance that is lost in telling stories that are not in your wheelhouse. Like, that's how we get the comic book trope of every black superhero has lightning powers, and they're all from, like, the hood. Is when you get stories that are not written by.
Why lightning powers specifically? What am I missing here? What is my white?
I'm sure there's a video essay
here?
about it, but there are so many fucking black superheroes that all have lightning powers.
Yeah, no, I realize when you say it, like they're coming to me, but I'm just like why lightning specifically?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a video essay that talks about it. I don't know what that is yet. So I'm always a little bit of two minds about it. And I think, again, that's where I really came to love Western webcomics, especially the really smutty ones, because they're usually written by creators of the same kind, or at least much closer to that type. So when they throw in a random trans character, it's a well-written trans character as opposed to Diet Futa. Which we also got a lot in the 90s and the 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah. Respectfully speaking, I think I said this. I can't remember if I said this in the episode. Like, I personally, I like futas, but that is not the same thing.
Yes.
Futa is not trans representation.
No. If you feel represented by it, go you. Like, that's fine. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
here
it's
to.
not intended to
Yeah,
be. It's
intended to
like
be.
it's you know, it's like a third gender, except
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah, I don't
think
know.
that's the other big thing about representation that I always keep coming back to is I think about how limiting it is when you are going into a work looking for a very narrow representation of what representation looks like.
Mm.
Like, there are a lot of characters that I shouldn't feel represented by that I do, but I feel that way because of other experiences, shared coping skills or lack thereof coping skills. Some
Mm.
of them also are just like gender. It's like, I want to steal your gender.
Yeah.
Stares at Wolfwood. I want your gender, sir.
It's like that. I want
Yeah,
that
give me that.
specific. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have some of those.
I think I love that part of being like a gender queer Fujin, where it's like you just have like the gender box.
Yeah, you know, one of my friends has whenever they do an art stand at a con, they have a little
Mhm.
jar on their
Yes,
stand, and it's like put your gender in here and then draw a new one, and you can write whatever you want on the notes. So
yes,
my gender of the year is no. The note I
fair,
pulled out of the jar just said no, and I feel yes.
valid,
Valid. Like, that's the best one. Gender?
right?
No. No,
Gender,
no.
no. Just put an X there.
I am
But
beyond I'm beyond gender at this point. Just no.
but yeah, like I'm so fascinated about. Ooh, I had a
Question.
question about Yaoi's highly stylistic depictions of attractive young men. Do you think it's possible that it reinforces beauty standards? Yes. Yes. Absolutely. 100%.
Can
Yeah.
Yaoi reinforce unattainable beauty standards? Absolutely.
Yes.
But so can any other media. Um
I appreciate your scapegoat.
No, because but it's just because,
It's,
this is
yeah.
just me immediately wanting to defend against the non-existing
True.
antis in the chat because people will always be like,
This is true.
"Oh, you shouldn't be reading Yaoi because you should be reading Bara." And it's like, have you ever seen Geikomi? Like, that's not a realistic depiction of a man either. So
It's
like,
not.
and it's like, it's so funny because like I've watched like documentaries or heard from people, in contexts where this has been discussed, where, let's face it, like a lot of Asian men, a lot of Japanese men are not big and bulky. They're more
No.
on the twink side of things often, right?
Yes.
And like, so looking at the men who are supposed to be attractive to the male demographic, they didn't necessarily feel that is not, and that's not necessarily gay men only, because I keep coming back to this research that was done, I believe it was in 2010. There was a survey on straight male fans of BL, and
Mhm.
like, part of the reason a lot of them consumed BL content and felt represented by BL characters was because
They
they
look really
felt,
dumb.
yeah, because they looked realistic, like it was
Yeah.
something they could relate to uh
Well,
bodily.
and we
But of
also
course, it's
yeah.
these men are pretty.
Well, we also have to consider how much of that is influenced by Western beauty standards. There's a
Mm-hmm.
reason why all of the most attractive yaoi characters look Aryan specifically. There's a huge reason behind that.
Oh,
That
poor, yeah,
you know, and
poor Bjorn
I
Andreas.
I think that's one of the big reasons why I'm also usually a little bit um shy to get super into like K-pop and stuff because it's reinforcing such a stereotype of beauty that is so westernized but also just very inauthentic.
Hmm.
My big thing also with it is that there is a lot of appropriation sometimes that comes with BL and other Eastern depictions of characters, uh, that is taken from Americans or ethnic people, but then those people are treated poorly. So,
Mm.
like, K pop loves to appropriate black hairstyles and black music and hip hop clothes, but if you're actually black in South Korea, have fucking fun.
And it's
Ugh.
yeah, and it I watch a lot of content on YouTube, for instance, of people, and there are a
Mhm.
lot of black women who live in Korea who make Korea content, which and I watch a
Yes.
lot of them.
Yes.
And I started watching them because, it's like I've been in the Japan sphere for so long, but I didn't know a lot about Korea. So I was like, okay,
Mhm.
let's learn about Korea. And
Yes.
and like it's interesting because yeah, there's racism, but of course it's a different kind of racism than you see in the
Yes.
States than you see in Europe. But it's
Correct.
also like they are they are also, especially the women, so highly sexualized. Like everyone wants to have relations with a black woman, but they can't bring them home to their parents. It's a
Yep.
whole, so there's like a whole, yeah.
Disassociates and how many times I was catcalled in Japan.
I was not, but I was stalked at one point.
I usually never go into anything looking for representation because not many stories are written about someone like me. So I always look to other things in different ways. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, we talk about race a lot on this show because half of the show is black. But I think also, like, growing up in a white hegemonic society, I could not look to black characters to represent
Mm.
me because, again, they were all, like, urban gangster flavor, and, like,
Right.
that wasn't me. I was a upper middle class kid who went to private school and had
Mm.
parents that loved them. Like, I couldn't relate to, like,
Mm.
all these characters. So I'm always going in looking at representation in a more abstract way. I've been
Yeah.
doing that since I was a child. Because if I waited for characters that looked like me, I was never going to find it.
Yeah. And
Uh,
we have a comment. Yes.
we do. While BL isn't necessarily intended to be representative, uh, but it can be to some when authors choose to. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I think it's highly representative in places.
Hmm.
And I think that segues us very nicely into less than ideal representation.
I do want to say something first before I forget
Please.
about it. Just because going back to with the visuals and
Yes.
what bodies are represented and
Yes, 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 yes.
what faces are represented. But that you know one of the things I put on my list, which I do have open, not right now, but I have it so I can look at it. But it is right there. It's just hidden behind the window. It's that at the end of the last episode, I was mentioning briefly, I tried to be brief anyway, the kind of
Mhm.
diversity that we are seeing and the progress that we are seeing in representation in BL media, not only manga, but looking at manga in particular. And I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, compared to the amount of manga, of BL manga that is coming out constantly, it's very
Mhm.
little. But we are
Mhm.
seeing a shift where there is a little more versatility in which bodies we are seeing. So,
We
for
are.
instance, I've mentioned this before, but like there's a crossover now between the gay komi style and the BL, where the characters are kind of more fluent and they can be in either category. But also
Mhm.
you have like series like you have like Minagishi loves Otsu and I'm chubby but I'm your hero. And
Mhm.
what is the name of it? Because that blue sky feeling. I always think it's blue sky
Mhm.
complex. That's a different one. Which all have plus size
Mhm.
protagonists, and so
Yeah.
we are seeing more bodies and also more characters, um, more characters who aren't in high school or college, but
Mhm.
that you have. For instance, we have. I mean, what did you eat yesterday has been going on for a long time, but seeing those two growing old together, how they have changed along with the times over the course of the series. You have series
Mhm.
like Old Fashioned Cupcake, which focuses on like middle-aged men, Osan's Love. So it's happening. There are I have not read Osan's Love or Old Fashioned Cupcake, by the way.
I will say, That is one of my favorite things in like BL fandoms. People will say I love old man yaoi and they're talking about men in their 30s.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I just not to bring gravitation into this,
Why?
but I can't get over. Like I said, I reread Gravitation every so often, which is like it's not very often because I like to keep it so I will have a good reaction whenever I read it. So I have read it at multiple stages of my life, and when I first read it, I was a teenager, and and Yuki is 23, and I was like, he felt like an adult to me. And the last time I reread this manga, I was in my 30s, and I was like, he's 23. He doesn't know anything. He's a child. So it's like, yeah, old man yaoi is a relative term, I think. But
Yeah, old man yaoi and then referring to characters just like in their 30s is very funny to me.
yeah,
When I'm over here, like, how can I fuck the sketchiest old man in this
and
series?
I think this is so funny because I have a clip where you're screaming at me because you were assaulted by old man yaoi. Like, do you remember? And you're like, I
Yes.
was the victim here. I'm like, but you go looking for it though.
I do now. Because that was in reference to Letters for Lucardo, and I wasn't
Oh
expecting it.
god,
And it
yeah.
was a very when I refer to old man yaoi, while the character may be old, I still expect his body to be that of a 20-something twink. I was not
Which
expecting,
every gay man's dream. If
yeah.
I'm gonna,
What I wasn't expecting in Letters for Lucardo was all like the liver spots and the jowls and the
yeah,
hanging skin. I didn't like watching a hot vampire fuck a bat.
yeah, but I mean, like
That
going
isn't
back,
what I wanted.
going back to the roots of BL, it's supposed to be a fantasy.
Yeah,
So no one
like
is
that
supposed
looked
to.
like an actual grandpa, and I didn't want that. I didn't care that he was older. That wasn't my problem. My problem is that he looked like he was made of the membrane of a bat's wing,
Yeah, it's
and that
like,
was gross to
and
me at the
I
time.
think that we are all so scarred by the experience of Lemon Party in our formative years.
Yes, like that was my
It's like,
issue with
no, I'm
Letters for
sorry, I don't.
That was my issue. I when I say old man yaoi, I do still mean very specific, like they are still stylized. The men may be older, but they still don't look like that. Uh no, I did not want a literal grandfather in Letters for Lucardo.
I mean,
That scarred
fair.
me.
It's kind of like, have you seen? I mean, there's plenty of these, but like documentaries about grandmas who have OnlyFans.
Yes.
And it's like, I am so on their side. I'm like, good for
I am
you. I
too.
am rooting for you. Like, live your best life. That does not mean I am going to go looking for it, right?
Exactly. Like I was so confused. Like I wrote a review for reading Letters for Lucardo, and I was like, so much of me is torn between get it, grandpa, and oh no, please stop. Like I was so torn between like, yeah, get it! You fucked that vampire! And the other part of me is just like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Can you
He looks
please?
like yes.
I need a Get It Grandpa sticker, like
No, we
old
don't.
man like a sticker pack. One is like old man Yaoi, and the other is like Get It Grandpa.
Like I was so torn between that and like just being utterly repulsed by the fact that he looks like Zoidberg without his shell.
Oh
I did.
no!
I was so torn.
But it's like, but from I haven't read it.
I think you'd really like it.
I have it open in a tab now because I obviously have to look into this. I forgot the title, so I put it. I
Yeah.
typed it in now. But it's like, who doesn't want to have sex with a vampire, right?
Right.
So like, if you were the old man,
Yeah,
you'd
get
go
it.
for it. Yeah.
Like I think that's what I mean. Like it was so conflicting. Also, Letters from Lucardo, one of the first times that like in a vampire character, I felt super seen. Because when you go read it, Lucardo is literally just me.
Okay.
He's
How am I
literally
supposed? Okay, actually, never mind.
he's
I was about
literally
to say, how am I supposed to get into the porn if I'm supposed to look at the vampire and think of you? But then I realized the other half is an old bat apparently. So I guess
He's so old. Why? Why?
we are very sex positive on this podcast. However,
We have limits.
but it's like, but
We are
that's the
very
thing though. You don't have to personally like everything. I
right. Like
I
I'm
think it's
not. I'm not here to shame anyone. Like that's not what I'm here to do.
no, and it's like, and I think, and we have to remember. I mean, obviously, there's something out there for everyone, and people can like
Yes.
vastly different things. Like the same person can like vastly different things. Like,
Correct.
but we are not like, regardless of how body positive we are, regardless of how how inclusive we are in all kinds of ways, there is no way to avoid the fact that youth is considered like that's hard currency, right? Youth
Mhm.
and attractiveness are connected, and
Yeah.
we like obviously you're going to be attracted to pretty characters. There's no getting around that. Is it great that everyone is getting a terrible self-image from looking at these
I think that's so funny
characters?
because before we started recording, I was talking about my secret attachment to some parts of My Hero Academia. And a lot of the characters that I like so much are so not conventionally attractive.
Mm.
And like going beyond Dobby, because regardless of him being literally made of beef jerky and stapled together, there's still a lot of intentionality to make that an attractive man.
Exactly, because when you mentioned him now, I'm like, what do you mean he's not attractive?
Yeah, he's hot.
He's so
Like
fucking hot.
he's so fucking hot.
And I
Like
mean,
he's
maybe that is just us being, I mean, we do have some dubious taste. I have famously been known to say that I think that Venom is hot,
that's
which, you know,
a lie.
I mean, he is. And it's like, it's
God.
funny because, you know, my girlfriend, who's probably not watching because she's playing the new Zelda game, but, you know, she has like a physical aversion to Venom because she doesn't
Yes.
like this symbiote thing. She doesn't
Yes.
like things going in people's bodies. And I'm over here
Yes.
like, but
Do
he's
it
hot
again.
though, right? Like, she's
Yeah.
like,
Like,
you're a fucking psychopath. The two
like
things,
so many
yeah,
so
two very
many of the
sexy
oh
men.
my god.
Oh my god,
Yes.
Izzy's video on that is so good. I love
I love
Izzy's.
it.
Watch her
But
video
like
essay.
there's so many characters in My Hero Academia that I like. Not necessarily and like I would like to sleep with Yaoi. They're just like not conventionally attractive at all. Stop encouraging her.
He is! Thank
He's
you!
not.
He is! Oh my god, are you blind?
Says the person who unironically would love to be Skeptic's friend.
Yeah. Skeptic,
Love,
though. I mean,
love that lanky nerd.
I think there's, you know, we're allowed to talk badly about ourselves. And I think
We
that
are.
sometimes I think there's something seriously wrong with us. Like, if you as a listener can relate, I'm not saying there's something wrong with you, but I am saying there's definitely something wrong between these co-hosts here. Like there's something. Also,
That actually, Sansa. That actually does ties back into what I was starting to say, which is when representation isn't ideal. I think a lot of modern Fujin feel that angst. There are reasons I will be going to see the new Venom movie.
Oh yeah.
That sounds so fucking ominous.
Also, it's very wedding coded.
Why do you want to fight Carnage? What the fuck is going on?
I'm not gonna disagree.
No.
We're here to talk about representation, and then everyone's just like, okay, but
the symbiote. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow, dishonor on your whole family.
I couldn't help it. I wasn't the one who designed this character, okay?
You fucking deviant crawling out of the floorboards. What do you mean who doesn't? That's not a normal question.
And I'd be lying if I didn't say that it would be interesting to see Carnage and Venom getting it on, right?
No!
There are a lot of possibilities there. I'm just saying. See, everyone's into monster fucking, but when I say something, it's suddenly frowned upon. Whenever I
It's
have
not
the
sudden. I would say this regardless. But what I
oh
was
god.
saying about representation, no, I will not represent that in BL. God damn it.
Okay, question. If you are like a character like my beloved Tamaki who has tentacles, are you technically is he under the monster symbiote umbrella?
I would imagine so because the only thing you see in the porn of him is the tentacles.
Again, so funny to me because he's so
What other use does he have?
I feel very represented by him as someone with crippling anxiety.
Like, that's all I see him
Maybe.
for is a vehicle for tentacles.
Hmm. You say that like it's a bad thing. Amanda's like taking a deep breath, looking at that comment. Ren, you gotta stop your killing, Amanda.
Am I
Okay,
the only one? Am
I'm
I the
gonna.
only one that did not do a monster fucker face?
I don't have a monster fucker face. I don't know what you're talking about. I for science, Ren, I need to know where you draw the line. Like I just need to know what is not monstrous enough. Like where's the
See,
cutoff point?
and here's what's funny. Here's what's funny. Curl and I were talking about this. My aunts are going to be in town next month, and they would love to meet Corolla. But all they know about Corolla is the very cherry picked, innocent image that I have presented of her, where Corolla is an author and she lives in Norway and she's super smart, and I really value her mind.
That's a you problem. What is this? What is this
Fantasy
picture?
creature.
Like what have you created? Like excuse me.
What is this fantasy creature I made up in Corolla's image?
That's not me. That is the image that you've created.
It's the simulacra I made of you
Yeah.
in my mind. And my aunts would love to meet Corolla. They're going to. And it's like, oh, she's another one of Amanda's weird pervert friends.
Yeah. I mean, it would be all fine and dandy until I opened my mouth, which is usually how this goes.
Now back to representation being
Yeah,
less than
okay.
ideal.
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of current angst right now that I know like older Fujins have. Oh god, hold on. If they are basically human but have like ears or something, not a monster. Valid.
So like Kemono Mimi.
Yes. Or like some interpretations of hybrids.
Mm. Yeah, I can see that.
I think what's interesting about the current angst between newer fans and older fans is there is such a desire that every piece of representation be so perfect and that characters can't have any negative traits, negative flaws. They can't stay trash. Everyone has to go through this Jesus like redemption arc, which I think is boring as shit. Let villains be villains. Um, and that's fascinating because so much of the reason why I bonded with characters that I did was because of how imperfect they were.
Mm.
Like, I just can't imagine taking those flaws out of the equation. That feels short sighted to me. And it feels inauthentic to me.
I'm just trying to get my leg free from the cat. Oh my god.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I think he stopped the blood flow to my brain. But yeah, no, but I know I agree with what you're saying. I think but are you because I immediately just bounce into the here and now
Mm-hmm.
where like we talked about in the main episode that there's this demand for the one-to-one representation and
Yes.
everyone being there are no morally gray characters and
Mm-hmm.
there's no room like there's one
Mm-hmm.
thing characters having this kind of Jesus like redemption arc but
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of fans with the demand for representation and for moral representation in particular, that there's not even a room for that redemption arc, because you can't have a
Mhm.
character arc. You have to be a 100% acceptable character in
Yes.
every single
Yeah.
way. Like, there's no space for that. And I think that, I mean, obviously we're older.
Trash.
Yeah, we're trash, we're older, we're media literate.
Yes.
But also, like, like you said, representation wasn't always great, and it wasn't always intentional.
Hmm.
And so it's almost like we cherry picked it, like you could, because we didn't have a lot. Like, you would have that
Hmm.
one gay or like one queer character, or like that one, like, yeah, everything you saw in, if you think about like the mainstream Western media that we grew up watching, you would have the token gay character, the
Hmm.
barrier gaze trope, oh, there's a trans character, but they're gonna be, the butt of all the jokes. Like,
Hmm.
that was the only representation a lot of us, and especially those older than us, had access to. So all you
Hmm.
could kind of do would be like, okay, all of that is bad, but this is a character who feels
Right.
the same way I do. Like, you would have to kind of like hold on to those,
Hmm.
like the little grasping at the strands you were given, basically.
Yeah. And I think also very much to this point, it's like I relate to characters that are also a mess. Like, I think that was the big thing for me, like, especially when
Yeah,
I was younger. I very much related to characters that were absolute hot trash. Like, there's a reason why Yuki Eri is in the gender box.
because he's perfect and I love
He's
him.
trash.
He's
He is
perfect
trash.
trash.
Yeah.
Leave him alone. He's
He's
everything to me.
also belongs in a dumpster. But affectionately, he also
Yeah,
belongs in a
yeah.
dumpster.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
I write to
affectionately,
him.
he is also trash. But
Yeah, but how, like, speaking as a fan, speaking as an author,
yes.
both of those, like like a character, there are no perfect people, and
Mhm.
so if you have a perfect character, that's not a character. That's just a flat stereotype, just a flat,
Yeah,
like,
that's a lamp.
yeah, that's nothing. And that's not interesting. That doesn't give you anything to work with. That is also reason for criticism.
Mhm.
And, you know, that's not very realistic.
It's not. And I think this is interesting. To me, it's okay if we have a variety. I've enjoyed characters who are utter messes, who have one good trait or aspirational, but with like one flaw. I think, yeah, like the
Yeah.
mileage on that varies from person to person, series to series, and even time to time. Like,
Hmm.
I know definitely as I get older, I appreciate those aspirational characters more. I don't like them more, but I appreciate what they stand for in the narrative
Yeah.
more. As a writer, as a creator, as a cosplayer, like, you're never going to make me like Suichi Shindo, but I appreciate his role in the story more.
Were you gonna come for my child?
Like,
No,
there's a
but
reason
yeah,
I killed him in my fic.
but it's like I was just listening to an audiobook earlier this week. I finished it like yesterday or something.
Good job.
And it's like, I mean, it's not great fiction. It was also, one of the tags was horror. I don't feel like it was horror. It had like a thriller aspect to it, very mild thriller, but still. But
Hmm.
it had like, okay, bear with me. Teenagers are irrational creatures. We all know this.
Correct.
I was irrational. I see teenagers acting irrationally every single day. I
Hmm.
write teenagers and I
Hmm.
read about a lot of teenage characters. And one of the reasons why, these stories that are focusing on teens are so messy is because teens are messy, right?
Hmm.
That does not stop me from listening to this audiobook and going, you can't do that. You can't. You accidentally murdered this person. You should talk to the police. Don't cover it up, and it makes me mad. That doesn't
Hmm.
mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't mean that the author is a terrible writer. That doesn't mean that the character
is
is a
bad.
yeah, it's because she's making some stupid decisions, because if she
Right.
didn't, there wouldn't be a story.
Right, exactly. And I think, when I look at like the characters that were super important to me when I was younger, I was big on like shonen protagonists and shonen antagonists,
Hmm.
because there was always that part of me that related to those aspirational goals of wanting to make things right and wanting to be better. But I still needed that edge of something is wrong. I think like that's probably why Edward Elric loomed so large in my mind when I was a teen. Is that at the time he was a really, really good mix of like that aspirational Naruto like shonen protagonist while also being a little shit
Yeah.
who who doesn't listen and is reckless and does make mistakes that end up doing severe, significant harm to people.
Yeah. And then I'm just over here in my little corner. You mentioned Naruto, and all I can think is like, because you know how he is,
I do.
dumb as a brick,
Uh,
massive heart. Like, he doesn't have a brain, but he has a huge
no.
heart, and he believes in talking it out. Like, he wants to solve things, and if that doesn't work, the shonen headbutt will work.
Yes.
But then at the same time, he's like, oh, I'm going to restore peace and I'm going to become the leader and everything's going to be great. Don't touch my terrorist boyfriend. Like, because he is over here just like making all of these excuses. And he's like, yeah, he's a terrible person. Don't talk about him. He's my like, sweetie. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I think that Sasuke should be forgiven for all of his terrible mistakes
I
because.
no.
but
You should be in
it's
jail.
just I just think it's so funny because Naruto is such a moral character, and then he's like, "Don't touch my fucking terrorist
He
boyfriend."
does the
Like,
same thing with
he's fine.
Gara though. That like as soon as Gara gets hit with the shonen friendship beam, everyone forgets that he was just a terror for 12 years.
Yeah, but also he was 12.
I'm just Oh, does murder no longer count? What kind of Texas law argument are you trying to give here?
I don't know. I don't know.
Girl, this one's for you.
A ship I got into a lot is Vegas Pete. I actually felt represented by the characters individually in subtle moments, so while some may find them to be bad rep, they were good for me. Good for you. I we all know how I feel about Vegas Pete. No, but I absolutely, absolutely understand what you're saying. Like, Peachy did a whole thing on Vegas, which is a very interesting. I thought that was super interesting. When people are talking about why they like Vegas and why they find him, like, because I think he's a super interesting character. I also hate him, but like I've said before, I can forgive a lot. And my main problem with Vegas isn't the whole kidnapping and torturing thing. It is the part where he's trying to break up Kid and Porsche. Like, if he had kept his nasty little paws of Porsche, I would have been fine with Vegas Pete.
These
But
nasty little
unfortunately,
paws.
unfortunately, he had to be a home-breaking whore on top of being a psychopath. I like a good psychopath. I finished reading Warehouse yesterday, the
Mm-hmm.
manga, and it is absolutely disturbing. I imagine it would be similar to Killing Stalking, and it is a little bit, but not in the way that I was expecting. And I have a lot of feelings about it. And I enjoyed it. Like, is it a good relationship?
No.
No. But was I rooting for them by the end? Yes. I
Okay, but
do.
we've
Like,
talked
that
about
is
this a lot. Like,
yeah.
both of us are on some weird moral high ground shit where we are fine with like 90% of depravity, but men cheating on their wives is unacceptable.
Yeah, but like, okay, this is a mafia show. Like, I'm sorry I'm turning this
Yeah.
into a Kid Porsche episode again. But I think this is so funny. Like, you'll see people on Twitter all the time, and they'll be like, oh, Kid is a terrible person because, yes, I agree. I enjoyed Warehouse, though. But I like Killing Stalking better, too. But yeah, like, people will be like, oh, but Kid is like, he's a mafia boss. What the fuck do you expect? Like, Vegas comes from a terrible home life. He is also part of the mafia. He's under terrible pressure, and he's the one doing the wet work for the family. Like, I'm not expecting him to be, a moral character. But, murder and torture is one thing, home wrecking is another, okay? And also the attempted sexual assault on Porsche, which I thought was very unnecessary.
I do love that about us. Like we have written, consumed, enjoyed some of the most depraved
Oh
acts
yeah.
in fiction, but a man cheating on his wife is where we draw the
Yeah,
line.
no, but it's just that's not okay. Like, and it's like, again, we are very sex positive on this
We are.
podcast. Like, I don't mind, you know, I'm not super into it. That is another thing, actually, that I forgot to put on my list, that I was going to put on my list. Because when we see
Yes.
more diversity in representation in BL, we
Mhm.
are also seeing more, like, we're seeing more poly representation, right?
We are.
There are much more stories coming out with, couples who are opening up and, that aren't couples. There are
Well,
thruples, there are,
and
open
sidebar,
relationships.
that's really interesting because I feel like the 90s and the 2000s did that a lot,
Mm,
just not under the guise of polyamory, because there were a ton of school life BL where there's two semes and one uke and they just decide to Eiffel Tower the fuck out of him one day.
but that isn't that just a threesome though?
I mean, some of them do stay in like lasting relationships, like as
Yeah.
like a little trio. But like, I feel like a lot of '90s and 2000s manga centered around these very like open concept of relationships, and
Mm,
fans have been doing that for years as well
yeah,
to be
but
able to maintain that kind of stuff.
hello.
Hello.
But
Um,
I also think that that is also like could be taken the wrong way, as in, oh, gay men are so promiscuous. Let's just, they're all. And
stares at Ono.
I just want to point out that I have written some sluts in my time. The boys in the Jaded verse are absolute sluts, and I love them for it. Like
I
these,
am one of those sluts. Shit.
like that entire group of boys working in that nightclub that I have written, they've all fucked each other at the same time, separately, which is fine. But yeah, no, but I think that exactly. But I also think that polyamory wasn't a word.
It wasn't. Well, because
Definitely not in manga.
there were like thruples and stuff, like they did exist, but it was super fringe. Like that was the
Yeah,
fringest of fringe that you could be. Um,
yeah, and like now you're seeing a lot more
mhm.
where it's done purposely, where they're having the
Correct.
conversations, where they're um where they are entering, and often it often comes from like a sexual point of view, where it's like it starts with a threesome, it starts with like a drunken,
And then they
just
just become
like,
like a polycule.
yeah, and then they're just a polycule, and it's like, like, I mean, it's not new,
No.
but Chocolate Strawberry Vanilla by Psychedelico is one of those, where it's like, and the two of them originally hate each other, but they're both in love with the same guy, and then they're like,
Yeah.
fine, we'll just do it for his sake, and then they start falling for each other, but then
Mhm.
they get all tuntun about it. I really like that one.
Jealousy got close to a lot of things and didn't
Mm.
land, but you know,
I haven't read Jealousy. I have it sitting on my shelf.
that wasn't me being shady at all. Don't pay me any mind. Fine over here. But I've been thinking a lot about OT3s
Oh.
as a means of like avoiding conflict, because like I know for me, I've opened my brain to OT3s a lot more, so I don't have to argue with people about ships. So like I it's like Free did that for me really really easily, because like I don't support Ren and Hadu together. I don't like that. Um, there's a perfectly good Makoto right there who is stable and can provide for Haru.
You're saying it in can't provide for Haru.
Yes, I am. Openly.
What,
Yes.
you don't think that he can provide for Haru on his stripper cop salary? Like, is that what
No, I
you're
don't.
saying?
I do not. But
Please understand that when I realized that he was not exactly, he has shark teeth. Your argument is invalid.
that's not that. Fuck you.
That's how you win, okay?
No.
No, but when I realized, in the ending of the Future Fish ending
Yeah,
when he's dancing, he's not a cop. He's a
he's not.
stripogram. And I love that for him. Like,
He's an
good for
exotic
you.
dancer.
And this is how
Um,
he's going to provide for his half dolphin boyfriend. I will take no
but,
further questions.
but one of the ways I resolved that angst, because I'm one of the only Mako Haru shippers in my friend group. Thank you!
No!
Thank
He's a
you!
terrible person! Oh,
Yeah!
listen, and now I'll be like, he's okay, but that is exactly why. That is exactly why. Because,
You all are
because,
haters.
no, No, but that is exactly what I'm saying. I wouldn't have hated Sasuke so much if the first season hadn't been entirely about Rin and Haru, and Rin being all, oh, swim for me, and Haru being like, oh, I don't want to, but then he did it anyway, and then they're back together and everything's beautiful. And then fucking Sasuke and his busted shoulder appears, and he's like, stay away
Are
from Rin. And I'm like, who
perpetually on
the
his
fuck are
dick
you?
about
You,
being injured once.
who are you? You home wrecking bastard.
He's not a home wrecker for existing.
Yes, he is.
No,
But
he's
because you call it existing when he gets all up in Haru's face and he's like, stay away from Rin. And thank you, Shannon.
no.
Thank you.
All of you. Okay, no, that is not the point that I was making.
I am right, and you know it.
Deviant
Like,
order, all of you.
I think that Sasuke and Makoto would make a beautiful couple.
I think they should tag team Rin. Yes.
I think Sasuke needs to fuck off.
No, I'm 100% fine with them double timing Rin.
Leave it alone.
No, I will not.
My beautiful
You can't make me.
crybaby shark boy.
I'm completely honest. My ship is right. Oh,
I mean, I can see that if it, but then Rin is obsessed with Haru, so it's a little, but Nitori's obsession with Rin, I mean, it's there. I love Nitori. Oh my god, that little weirdo. I love him so much.
they're all little weirdos.
Yes!
What the fuck are
Yes!
you talking about?
My beautiful swimming boys. Oh my god, I have to rewatch Free.
Little fucking weirdos.
Yes.
How has that not made it to the Halloween costume list?
I don't know. Maybe because we don't want to be naked. He's a baby. I have an Eva Toby swim club jacket. I'm just saying.
I will have you know that I bought one from Asia and I thought that I'd measured it to size, but I looked so fucking hentai in that jacket trying to zip up my giant breast into them.
Maybe that was the point.
I looked so fucking hentai with like the zipper underneath my breasts.
It's like, this is the new push-up bra. It's just a zipper.
They should have been together. I agree. They're good for each other. I don't think they're good for each other. That's a lie. They're not good for each other. I don't think any of them are good for each other.
What are you talking about? Nagi-san today. Nagi-san was so good for today. Like, I love them so much. Oh my god.
We're gonna have to do a gay. We're gonna have to do a gay sports
yes!
episode.
Oh my god! Yesterday, I was scrolling the Instagram.
Not the Instagram.
The Instagram, yes. And a video came up. Like, I know that my backlog is like massive and terrifying, and I don't like to think about it because it fills 2 hard drives and it's terrifying. But for some reason, I have completely I've been sleeping, but I think this was when I was very busy, but because I've been sleeping on a lot of sports anime, and there was a rugby anime that came out, I think in 2020, called Number 24, and someone posted some clips from it talking about how you top from the bottom, so it's like a very uke-coded character, but he has major top energy, and I'm like, I am gonna watch the hell out of this. We absolutely have to do gay sports anime episode.
We do have to do a gay sports anime episode because
I am ready to do my research.
Watch a bunch of buff anime men do stuff.
But I don't they're not even that buff. I do love, like, one of my favorite sports anime is All Out, which is also a rugby anime.
Mhm.
And they are definitely not Twinkie pretty boys, but I love that series. I just got into that because I was like, I don't know what this is. Let's just watch it, and I didn't expect it to just hit me so hard in the feels. Like I I was just there to have fun, and then it just destroy. I love it so much. It's so good, so
You're giving me
good.
Sadaz on my flashbacks, and I don't like that.
Oh yeah, Sarasama is such a because it's so. You're just like, I still don't know what's happening, but it's hurting me.
I don't think I've cried like that for an anime in a while.
Thanks,
But
Devilman Crybaby.
I didn't even cry. I was just fucking catatonic.
Oh god.
I didn't even shed tears. I just didn't know what life was. uh, but yes, if you have any other questions about the episode, please keep them coming. We are not leaving yet. But since we've been here for an hour,
What?
I will say
In an hour?
it has been an hour.
Okay.
Where am I? I will say, interest check time.
Ooh.
If we happen to make some bookmarks, is that something that you guys would be into?
I would be into it.
Okay, well, I can't stock a shop for you. I can't. That's not how this works.
I have so many bookmarks. Send help.
Well, that's why we're asking because same, like I also have 60 million bookmarks. But if it's something that you guys would like and you would support and you would buy, we definitely can do that. Um I'm excited to start planning for Q1 of next year because I feel like I can finally build a schedule out of all the episodes that we said, hey, we do an episode on this. Okay. Yes. Like I feel like I really want to pack Q1 with like, hey, remember when we said we were gonna do an episode on this? Here it is.
Yes.
Because I feel like we've had such good ideas for episodes while we're recording. Like that's how we got the idea for the episode coming up next month.
Let's go performative anxiety.
Formative angst.
Yeah. Angst and anxiety.
Oh, not fair. Yeah, it's both. It's both. It's just PTSD mode unlocked.
Which is honestly just us at least once per episode.
We do unlock PTSD mode a lot.
Oh my god.
We unlock PTSD mode, I think, frankly, too many times, but I had a great time talking about core presentation again with Carla, and I think it always makes me so happy to be able to have such nuanced conversations, and also conversations that hold me and my views accountable, because as mentioned multiple times, I was completely happy with ending at everything sucks. So I appreciate having Corolla by my side to be like, Amanda, everything only sucks because you stopped reading after Twittering Birds Never Fly.
Yeah, like I have
And you stayed
compiled.
there.
I compile a list. It is not. If anyone wants me to share the list, I can put it in Discord. I will organize it a little better. But I compile a list of things that I could think of, mainly manga, but also some series that have, that are good representation in many ways. And one of the things that I feel like, because obviously we were mostly talking about the terrible representation.
Correct.
In the early 90s and 2000s, but but we did touch upon things getting better, and there's more diversity, and like I said, like more diverse bodies, but also
share the goods.
Yes, within that, we're also getting more, like, you have characters with disabilities, for instance. So so I have over here, I'm going to pull them out to show them off. Like, we have After We Gaze at the Starry Sky, character in a wheelchair. We have I Hear the Sunspot, and also Moonlight Chicken has deaf characters. Ogi's Summer Vacation, blind character who's also gender non-conforming. So there are a lot of different bodies and different gender expressions and different identities that are coming out in more and more BL. Um,
Well,
and I think that's a good thing. I mean, obviously it's a good thing, but it's also it's
yeah.
pretty well executed. Like
And
because
I love it. Like it's really exciting. I hear Slipknot is very good. Yes.
it
I
is.
love
I
it.
haven't read the newest installations, but I love it.
Mhm. But it got me thinking as you were talking about that. I think again, like one of the reasons why I probably never really felt that like sting of lack of representation so much is because I'm in the fanfic space.
Yeah.
So where there wasn't representation that was good, we just made our own.
Mm.
So I never really felt like I was longing for much when I was reading and these characters didn't look, sound, act, feel like me, because either I could fix it and be better because I
Yeah.
am the god of this universe, or some equally horny person like me is better and going to fix it and do better. Um, so I think like that's really really interesting when you think about how individuals cope with that like representation gap. And I know people have varying opinions on like race bent characters and gender bent characters and like trans head canons, which we talked about a lot in the episode. Um, but like seeing them simply as a vehicle for building representation where there is not, I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I always agree with it, but I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, no, but it's like 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 you mentioned in the episode because we talked about fan work fix it at
Mm-hmm.
CitrusCon.
We did.
And one of the things that I was thinking about, because yesterday when I was compiling this list, and obviously I haven't read everything, I haven't watched everything. Like there are obviously things that I've missed. So I did some googling, I looked up other people's lists, I looked up some tags, and there is a surprising amount of, for instance, disability in BL that will pop
Mm-hmm.
up when you Google it and when you look at some of these lists. And a surprising amount of these are older works, right? But I think that especially now, there's a lot more sensitivity that goes into creating it because I feel like, back in the day, yeah, you could have, say, a blind character, but it oftentimes was just a way of spicing it up, just like a way to make that character interesting without actually exploring what that meant for the character and not necessarily representing the people belonging to that demographic or to that minority. And I think that they are getting better at that now. But in the meantime, the fanfic people have been doing this, and have been fixing this malrepresentation. Dare I mention the name Yoshiki Kitasawa yet
No,
again?
you actually just made me flashback. I think it's a one shot within a bigger anthology that there's this one BL of a man who kidnaps his like lover crush, and cuts off his arms
Ah,
and
it all
does a
comes back to the
varying amount.
kidnapping.
Huh?
It all comes back to the kidnapping,
Yeah.
always,
And
doesn't it?
does like a varying amount of non con and dub con to this armless person.
Mm.
And it turns out it's a weird Venus de Milo fetish, even though the original Venus de Milo had arms. She lost her arms because art stuff.
Yeah.
And you just flashed me back to that, and my brain was just like, I don't want to go back there again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's true. Like, those things did exist in earlier series. They just weren't handled with the sensitivity that they are now.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons why I kind of never felt. Because I listen to younger fans now, and I feel almost akin to a sadness that it's like, wow, it must suck that you guys feel so left out when there's all these characters right here.
Yeah.
Like, that has to suck. Like, you are in a room full of food, and because it isn't one particular food, you weren't happy with it. But I never felt that left out, even as a Black fan. I felt alienated by the community because the community was racist.
Yeah.
But I never super like it didn't feel wrong to attach myself to Edward Elric, to Roy Mustang, to Kakashi Sensei, to Tamaki from Oron. It never felt wrong to do that because I didn't need them to look like me
Yeah.
to feel seen by them. Um, and back to that FUBU argument I made earlier, I have more concerns about what a black character in manga would look, sound, and act like. Though again, they have always existed, not always good, and things have gotten better, but not 100%. Representation is such a funny thing because I think there's a part of us that would love to stop talking about it, but something always happens that necessitates that we raise it from the dead.
Mm. But but I mean, it's. I don't think it is a topic that you can declare dead because, like I said,
No.
there's always something happening. There's always something going on, and awareness. We're raising, like, people are raising awareness to groups that don't have representation. And again, like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying and I think that we are all on the same page here, that everything doesn't have to be representative, everything isn't
Mm-hmm.
representative. Some,
Mm-hmm.
you can be represented by some parts of something and disagree
Mm-hmm.
with another part of the same work, but it's like, but as long as people keep voicing their needs or their wishes, or what would they like to see, someone is going to come along and fulfill that, because you will,
Mm-hmm.
creators are looking into fulfilling those needs. Maybe they
Mm-hmm.
have the needs, maybe the community have the needs. So, and when you get new representation, kind of, new representation just rolled out, more
Right.
people will get to talking about it. So, it's something that is continuously happening. And I think that if we aren't talking about it, especially the way that things are working now,
Mm-hmm.
then
It
that's
doesn't
not
get
working.
highlighted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this point. I think the other thing is it is important to find a connection with characters that aren't you. In fact, it is important. So representation doesn't have to be. Yeah, there's this
Yeah.
huge empathy gap between certain demographics who say that they can't relate to other things because they aren't about them. I'm trying not to be very overt because people get offended when people say stuff like this, but this is very common in the US where we'll have certain readers and certain watchers of shows say that they can't relate to anything in this newfangled show because it has a brown person or because it's gay or anything like that. Because, love is a difficult concept, and as is empathy. Anyways, I'm not talking about Steven Universe. Don't worry about it.
I mean, I was just over here thinking about how my girlfriend just finished watching The Good Place this
Yes.
week. So we were talking about it on Friday. I've seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I think Chidi is from, is it Senegal?
I believe so, yes.
I think it is Senegal. And it's like, I'm not a black man from Senegal, but I can relate very strongly to his
Mm-hmm.
severe distress whenever he has to make a choice. Like, I
Yeah.
relate to that, even if he has, like, this is a man who enjoys philosophy. I
Mm-hmm.
hate philosophy personally. I can still relate to him. He doesn't look like me, he doesn't think like me, but we both get very distressed when having to make important choices.
We share
Like,
distress. Yeah,
ugh.
exactly. Like, and again, to the creators out there, if you can't find representation of your own, make it. Again, tying back to our sponsor, Filthy Figments, that's why I love them so much, is that it gives a platform for creators who are like, I am not getting the representation I want. I'm going to make this incredibly self-indulgent work. And if other people happen to like it, good.
Yeah. Which is, I
You
think,
know,
but that I love that creation process. That is
I do too.
partially, at least, how I think that's mostly how I work. It's like, I write what I want to write, and
Yes,
then if someone else likes it, good for them. But I
exactly.
mainly
Like,
wrote this for me. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why, like, if you look at my AO3, like, things that I've written, it's very much like in blocks of things. Like, I will be on a tear about this pairing. I will be on a tear about this pairing.
Hmm.
I'm not doing this for you.
No,
I'm doing
nor
this
should
because
you.
these two gay men crawled into my brain and
And
won't stop
yeah,
having
and like
sex.
now they refuse to leave.
And now
That
they
is,
won't
yeah.
leave.
And like exactly, and and that creation, it's like it doesn't have to be original. You don't have to make your own webcomic. You don't have to go out there and
No,
make a movie, but you can write fan fiction, or you can
absolutely.
write a good old fashioned manifesto. Like it's
You just want me to write manifestos again.
I'm just saying that it would be very interesting if you wrote the one we talked about in the main episode about how Yuki and Yoshiki Kitazawa are the same person. Because genuinely.
Half of this podcast is me divulging something and Corolla being like, "Oh, you should do that again."
Yeah. What? Am I not allowed? Like
You are allowed. I just think it's funny. It's like, "Oh yeah, I used to cosplay Austria," and it's like, "Hey, hey, hey, bring
I
that
have
back."
I happen to love Austria actually because
It's like I happen to love this character. Have you
or
considered bringing that back?
well, but I mean, but while we were discussing this, you also happen to unlock something in my brain. So
Yeah,
now I'm over here saving pictures of Poland cross dressing again, thanks to you.
you're welcome.
Hmm.
You're so welcome. You know what? I'm so tempted to write a shipping manifesto just to see if I can still do it.
I mean, that would be fun. I haven't read one in so long.
I think, okay, this will be like our nano challenge because I know, at least for me, I'm kind of low key boycotting official nano.
I'm not. I'm actually before they fucked up and started talking about things that shall not be
Mm-hmm.
named.
Mm-hmm.
I actually decided earlier this year I'm not writing Nano this year
Mm-hmm.
because I am going to be editing instead.
Great. Like, that's so
Fucking
good.
kill me!
But maybe
This
we
is
can do a little, like, not necessarily like a nano, but like a shipping manifesto month where we
uh,
all pick our one obscure topic and we focus in on it.
in this essay. I will.
Yeah, in this video essay, I will thoroughly outline the reasons why I firmly believe.
I feel like my gravitation panel is just is a 2 hour.
Yes! I think that could be so much fun because I've been sitting on a Trigun video
Mm.
for my channel because the more I think about Stampede, the angrier it makes me.
I'm not committing to anything because one, I don't think I ever wrote a shipping manifesto, and two, I have scripts to edit, and I'm
I
gonna.
mean, valid. Like I'm not forcing you to do anything.
You're not. That's not very 50s husband of you. Like
It's, we always talk about our 50s AU, but like I'm literally the chillest, most progressive.
we are a very progressive,
We are,
toxic
we
50s
are a
AU.
very
Actually,
inverted 50s couple.
who cooks?
Me.
Okay, good. Okay.
Exactly.
We must starve.
Like, we are a very progressive 50s household.
Oh god.
But I, as always, have a great time talking with Corolla.
Thank you.
You're one of my favorite people.
I cannot even fathom why. You call this a person? So
Just dies.
I
Just
can't. I'm so
it's
sorry.
like you're one of my favorite people to hang out with. Like I am not a person.
I'm not though.
Housekeeping. Patrons, you will soon be able to vote on our Halloween costume. We have to reduce the length of time voting is because we have to order shit. I think both of us for any of the options. So you guys get a week, and then we
Please
get like,
vote.
huh?
Please vote
Please vote.
within the week.
Yeah. So you guys are gonna get a solid 7 days, and then we will be in costume at the end of October,
I,
which, starts up this week.
what the fuck? How?
I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
know.
understand.
I don't either. Like, September really flew by.
I mean, I do understand that part because, like I was complaining about earlier, everything that happens in the city needs to happen in
Hmm.
September. Like, there's
Yes.
no one in the city who knows how to organize anything outside of
Hmm.
September. I am very tired.
But I'm excited to talk about performative angst and early fandom. I think we both have a lot to say on the topic.
Yeah.
I think we both have a lot of feelings about the topic, and especially in relation to how that shaped the fans that we are now. Because I'm always fascinated at how that wiring still lingers in me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I will make myself watch things that are uncomfortable. Like, instead of just like sitting with, like, oh, this has triggered you, this is upsetting. Like, I will sit there, like, fucking a Clockwork Orange and make myself do things that I don't like because of
Yeah.
that history of performative angst. So we're gonna have a great productive
Oh, it's gonna be
conversation.
so. It's gonna be a very soothing month.
Very relaxing,
If
absolutely.
if you would like to pay for our therapy sessions,
You may do so at patreon.com/the Shelf. Again, that is patreon.com/the Shelf.
hmm, oh my god, it's gonna be fine.
We're gonna be great.
It's going to be a good time. It always is. Like, maybe this is, I don't know. It's like it's one of those things, where it's just like, this is awful. Let's laugh about it.
I think that's very much the vibe I'm going for.
Yeah,
Let's
can't
see.
wait to.
I can relate to that, which is why sometimes with new fans, I'm almost hard. Literally, we're going to be talking about that because I think that's where Corolla and I really notice it is how we deal with younger fans. At least in our minds. Like, I know, like, I have never said anything
No.
to one of these kids. Like, I've never, like, well, you should go watch this. Like, I've never done that. But, like, in my mind,
Yeah,
I'm cussing them out.
yeah. And I absolutely have been condescending. But I will
I've
say,
been condescending.
I'm never condescending to random people on the internet or to random people. It's
Mm-hmm.
usually if I know them, like the
Mm-hmm.
kids I work with at the library, I
Mm-hmm.
see them a lot. I feel comfortable saying things like, "Oh, sweetheart, you'll outgrow that. Don't worry." Like
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but it's like, yeah, at least we have the self insight to take a step back, a virtual step back and realize this is a me problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's how we know we're not garbage people because we're not just yelling at random children.
No. I mean, I'm trash
Yeah.
because you are what you eat. I'm so on that raccoon idea. Like I mean, it's so funny. Please. Regardless of what wins in this poll, I'm ordering a raccoon set because I'm gonna.
Did I not buy you keychains for that?
I don't know.
So there's an artist that I follow that absolutely did do Shiga Dabi, but has a possum and a raccoon.
You did send me something, Shigadabi. I
I
just
think
can't.
it was that.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go dig it out afterwards and double check because I
If
still
it's
have
not,
I still have it in the box.
yeah, if it's not, I'll go back and buy that. But yeah, there's
Oh, it's so beautiful. They're perfect. They're perfect
they're
for it.
literally the worst.
Yes,
Just
which is why we love them. Even though I do realize that your love for Shigaraki is severely lacking.
If he wasn't crusty,
Someone has to represent the crusty people,
severe
Amanda.
psoriasis,
Yes,
severe plaque
yes,
psoriasis.
yes. It's not his fault his
And,
skin is terribly dry.
and I say this again, my favorite character is literally a man made of beef jerky and angry father feelings. That's my favorite character.
Stapled together.
Stapled together. I
Honestly,
love him.
I mean, yeah.
But for whatever reason, I draw the line at Shigaraki. That's too much.
I I don't really know.
He's shut up.
No, but he's a different kind of crusty, I
He's a
think. That's
different
the thing. Like
kind.
he's more of a crispy,
Yeah,
you know.
we're using food descriptors for him.
I mean, but he's well done. And
Tangent before we
Shigaraki's-
go. One of the things that I think is so unattractive about Shigadabi to me is just like the mechanisms of them trying to have sex with each other. That is a fire waiting to happen. That is two fire starters just rubbing together.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how that might be a little. Just throw them. Just like throw them in like a pool of like baby oil first so they can get nice and
Not the
slick.
baby oil.
I realized as I said it, I have been neck deep in P. Diddy videos.
Same. I was like, not the baby oil.
I don't want it! I mean, okay, but at the very least, our trash men, Amanda, are fictional.
This is
Imagine being a Diddy fan in these days.
Stairs and black people still defending R. Kelly.
Yeah. You know, I remember being a young teen watching the R. Kelly skit on the Chappelle show and thinking
Yes.
it was just a skit because, you know,
No.
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 Oh, yeah.
No. But yeah, I think my issue with Shigadabi is less that I don't understand it. I understand it. I completely understand why people would ship them. They definitely do appear too close at times. But that, to me, it's just like two bricks rubbing together. It's just
Which is funny
very
because I think that to me, it's literally just like I just think they look hot together. So it's like I'm in it for the aesthetics, but then I'm like, what aesthetic? They are both.
Yeah, I feel like they make
I mean,
each other
I think
look
they're both
grosser.
beautiful, but like, yeah.
No, I feel like they make each other look grosser somehow. I guess like that's a vibe, and I respect that.
But also, it's like they're both terrible, so like I'm kind of vibing with that.
So I'm going to be honest with you. This is probably going to be a bit of a hot take. I don't think Shigaraki is that bad.
I mean, he isn't. I mean, right now he's a little. Again, I am multiple episodes behind. The way he has been evolving in the last season is a little. I'm a bit concerned. But again, like for me, it's like it started with that joke about getting handsy because he has a lot of hands. And then I realized, but I think he's kind of pretty. And then came
recoils.
And then came the realization that I think he looks like Hyde. And now
that is so offensive to Hyde. I'm gonna tell Hyde you said that.
Hyde is aware because I'm not the only one who thinks that. And if Hyde does not cosplay this man for his Halloween party this year,
that is so offensive to Hyde.
No.
I hate that for him. But yeah, for me it's an issue of form and function.
I mean, I do see how it can be a little
incendiary.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, just tiny bit incendiary.
A little bit.
Also, I just have a thing with Dobby being with like canon attractive characters.
Shigaraki is kind of attractive. I don't understand. I mean, there's also the part where he touches someone and they literally crumble, which is a bit difficult if you're gonna have sex with them.
Yeah, he has this weird gay little glove.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like Rogue. You
Yeah,
know, she worked through it, didn't she?
just
She didn't. Oh, don't die!
she
On top.
literally she kills comic Miss Marvel that way.
Oh,
So
I like Miss Marvel.
yeah, that's how the
Oh.
original Miss Marvel like loses her powers and ends up in a coma, is because Rogue is determined to touch her. It's not Oxymate, it doesn't care. Correct. That is correct. That's why they're above me right now.
Above you, yes.
They're above me, protecting me whenever I record. They keep me
As
safe.
as they should.
Dobby would not keep me safe. I love having these conversations with you all. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I boring you?
No, you do have to remember that I was up until 4 a.m.
I do remember.
because you were
Everyone go
yelling at
watch.
me.
Everyone go watch that real Corolla made. It's very, very good.
Thank you.
And she spent 3 hours on it, and I appreciate her hard work. Even though I did yell at her afterwards because literally no one asked her to spend 3 hours on it.
It wasn't my fault it took 3 hours. It was a lot of things.
But I'm excited for next month's episode. I'm excited for Halloween.
I'm excited to see what our costumes will end up being. Sansa is in my nerd room.
Is he going to eat a gay statue?
I don't know. I hope not. I mean, he can't really get up on the shelves anymore without help, so I think we're good. But he sometimes does go into the closet and get stuck. Like, speaking of hide, I have a costume. I have his Halloween party vampire costume, and Sansa likes to go in the closet and get all tangled up in the cape. So that's a problem.
Okay. We're going to go so Corolla can rescue the cat.
Oh, he's out.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you guys for listening.
Thank you for joining
We
us.
super appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. If you want to be able to vote on our Halloween costume, you may do so by signing up over on patreon.com, which will be somewhere in the description. I will put up a more formal interest check for bookmarks because I'm curious about those.
Yeah.
And otherwise, thank you to Filthy Figments for sponsoring the show.
Yes, go check out Filthy Figments. They have
Yeah,
a lot of good things.
absolutely. And we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.